Hey there, it's 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚆 here with a chapter 1083 reaction analysis type stream thing. If you have a super problem with me using the word reaction, please comment down below. My last video, thankful to you all, kind of blew up at least. It's my first video to get over 20,000 views, over 3,000 views for that matter. And I got lots and lots of great comments that were extremely nice and helpful and considerate. So if you have a big problem, just, join the jokes down below. I do my best to respond to every comment. But we're going to be talking about One Piece chapter 1083 today, The Truth About That Day. And on the cover page, we start off with a bang where we see again one of my favorite characters in the whole series, 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚝 𝚤𝚑𝚡. And a lot of people don't think that these cover stories matter because they're under the false belief that they're fan requests for what to draw or whatever. And I'm not going to say that they're not totally sometimes fan requests, but if you really take a closer look at all of them, you'll start to find that the names are all fake, or the names are repeated. There's one volume I can't think of right now where there's like 4 different covers that are all recommended by the same, or suggested and requested by the same person. And in this one we get a cover request by Mikuro. Now, Mukuro, Mikuro, is a name that actually means corpse in Japanese. And Mikuro actually means black, dark, or sinister. So in this chapter we get the whole sabo over the corpse of Cobra, as well as this whole Maryjoa area and everything that's kind of going on there being very, very sinister and dark in my opinion. So, like I said, I don't think it's a problem if you believe that these are all real fan requests, but I'm telling you that the majority of them are Oda kind of fooling you. And if you agree, please leave some comments down below of ones you've found, and if you don't agree, leave some comments too, they all help. And this chapter starts off pretty much right where the last one stopped, where we meet everybody in the Kambaka Queendom. And we enter into the scene with Sabo pretty much telling Dragon and Ivankov, hey, we officially declared war by destroying the Celestial Dragon symbol, we rescued Kuma, and we freed as many slaves as possible. So all 3 objectives were taken care of. And I kind of want to talk about this Celestial Dragon symbol for a second, because I've had a couple videos now where I've kind of hinted at this bird kingdom and all of this stuff. Well, I know that's supposed to be the hoof print of a dragon, but if you really look at the Celestial Dragon symbol, it much more looks like a claw print of a bird or a chicken footprint. And I think that that's just what it is. If this ancient kingdom was a cock as in rooster kingdom, and it's been taken over by Emu and the Celestial Dragons, I think that it's all a real big possibility that this symbol, they've just kind of made up that it's a dragon footprint and that it's really a chicken footprint. And even in this chapter, we get tons of examples of the Celestial Dragons doing what they always do, be chickens and cowardly. And then the scene kind of, focuses in on Ivankov, Dragon, and Sabo all sharing some sort of drink like sake or grog, which of course, grog was invented as a payment in the Navy to pay soldiers with. So every time you see grog, it's a big clue for something going on. And speaking of something kind of behind the surface going on, have we ever kind of wondered or questioned why exactly Ivankov is the second in command of the Revolutionary Army? I know there's lots of ideas that Crocodile's been sex changed, and I think that's a very big possibility. But I think a much bigger possibility is that Dragon was. I don't know much, about Dragon for sure, nor does really anybody, but I know for sure that he's not Luffy's father. When we first hear about Dragon being Luffy's father, Garp is actually picking his nose. If you've ever taken a psychology class or know anything about lying, one of the main telltale signs that you are lying is by touching your nose or face. So I think when he says father, he really means at least mother. And yes, so I'm basically saying that Dragon's, actually Luffy's mother. But even that I don't totally think is right. But I do definitely think that at one time Dragon was a female and is now a male, for whatever reason. And we also kind of see, Ivankov really getting happy about the Celestial Dragon's food supply lines and all that stuff being cut off and having to have Maryjoa be under siege. And he really seems to take a huge satisfaction in the idea that they'll finally get a taste of what it is to live in poverty and hunger. And I do think that we're going to be seeing in the story kind of a huge dissonance between revenge being taken out in the Celestial Dragons and then forgiveness being shown to them. Now, I'm not saying they all deserve forgiveness or anything like that, but there's conceivably millions of celestial dragons. And the ones we've seen, yeah, are bad. And most of them have been, very rotten. But I don't believe that all of them probably are. And I don't believe that all of them should just be murdered or, unalived or whatever you call it on YouTube these days. But I do think that there's going to be certain factions in the One Piece world that want to do that to all of them. And then certain factions like Luffy that most likely will not. And then we hear Dragon kind of talk about how the real battle will start when Maryjoa and the Celestial Dragons mobilize the God's Knights. Now, I've also seen translation of the Holy Knights. Akainu seemed to mention in 1054 that whole Holy Land was their jurisdiction and stuff like that. So I am kind of anticipating these guys to kind of be a major villain. And I've heard and seen lots of theories this week about a kind of a twin Shanks, and how this guy in the middle kind of looks like Shanks, and he definitely has his Shanks' sword. And I think that it's a possibility that it just could be Shanks, for sure. And as far as the clone stuff goes, I'm not sure if the clone of Shanks has been able to leave Party's bar, but there's definitely clues in Chapter 1 of a clone. The very first time we see Shanks, he looks like this. Here's the rest of him. Do you notice anything? For some reason, Shanks' shirt is untucked in the very first time we see him. And the only reason that we actually know that this is Shanks anyway is because of the connotations that are held by who's wearing that straw hat. We don't even know in that first panel who that is. And giving context clues later in the chapter, we find out that that's Shanks. I do think that there is a different Shankses, basically. One that wears a coat, one that can't leave this bar, and one that has an untucked shirt all the time. But I'm not going to get into all that stuff in this video. It's too much in going into Crazy Town. But it's definitely something to keep your eye out for with clones of Shanks. I think lots of the things people think about Blackbeard and his powers or clones or whatever, Shanks is actually the one that possesses them. Considering in Chapter 1, too, since I always say everything is always hinted at in the first chapter.
We have to go back!
And Blackbeard is too. He is in Shanks' scar. And we don't know that until hundreds of chapters later, but that representation of Blackbeard is there, being part of Shanks. And I think there's a whole thing going on of Set and Horus, which I'll have future videos on. But either way, for now, I think that first person in the silhouettes of the God's Knights, that might be Shanks. I think also one of them is going to be this person. And this person is from in the Shonen Jump issue where Chapter 100 of One Piece was released. He drew some characters who are going to be future villains that we're going to see soon in the story. And we, Boa Hancock's here. We saw her, 400, 500 chapters later. And this person seems that they might be kind of representation of Wano, and this person seems to be a giant or something from Elbaf. But this person right here, who has Yasopp's famous stars all around him, as well as a straw hat arm cannon, for those of you that don't think that Oda takes a lot from Berserk, here's a pretty good example of, one of them, where this guy seems to have a arm that's a cannon, as well as, if you look at that shield on his back, it's very obviously a straw hat, or a representation of the straw hat. Perhaps even like the straw hat, using the sun as a vessel for power and kind of funneling it into a tool, which is, I think, what's happening with Luffy as well. But either way, I'm definitely thinking that this guy from Chapter 100's Shonen Jump cover is all a big clue to these final kind of 9 bosses, the God's Knights. And I'm not saying final for the whole story, but they're going to be the next problem. Because if you've been reading the story, especially later on in this chapter, it kind of should feel like the Marines don't have a chance. Outside of Garp, how on earth are the Marines going to handle Dragon, all the revolutionaries, all of the Yonko, but let's just focus on Shanks, Luffy, and the Cross Guild members, all of the old Tsuchibaki, And yeah, all those new Seraphim and stuff, maybe they can do something, but I don't really consider them to be a huge threat outside of being a threat for people like, probably below Sanji's power level. And maybe even below, closer to... I don't even know. I would say just below Sanji's, and I'm not saying that Sanji's weak. Don't hate on me in the comments. I'm just saying if Sanji's the third or fourth strongest of the Straw Hats, I'm thinking Seraphim are below that for the most part across the board for the whole world. And even so, there's only, 7 or so of them. So I'm not super afraid of all of them. Looking at all of the, powers that be and the scales and stuff, I don't really think the Marines have a chance. The 3 animals are not going to be able to stop them. Now, maybe Akainu can do whatever, but I'm assuming Shanks and Garp and Dragon, if they were all to team up, and Luffy, Akainu's not really going to stand much of a chance. So we're obviously going to be needing an influx of power for the Marines and for the Navy. And I think that these gods, knights, are going to be, along with most likely the Gorosei, are going to be, oh, hey, they really, are powerful. They still have all of these reserves left. And each one of them is, super, super powerful and effective. And I like the name Holy Knights better than God's Knights. But, we'll wait till the Viz comes out, to see, what's official or whatever. But I'm thinking they're going to be called the Holy Knights, like the song. And then before we cut into the flashback of what really happened that day at Maryjoa during the reverie, we see all these shots of Sabo kind of holding his head, maybe like he has a headache, maybe like something's going on. And there's a big secret that's from all the way in chapter 1, like everything, where every single character that you see with a facial scar is either hypnotized or being mind controlled. And before you jump off the video and jump down my throat and all this stuff, think about what is the point of chapter 1. Think very hard about what the point of the chapter 1 of One Piece is. Now, if you said that the point was making Luffy, who wanted to just be able to swim and have adventures at sea with his friends, if you said that the point of chapter 1 was changing that from Luffy just being a carefree, fun pirate to wanting to specifically be the king of pirates, you would be correct. And when did that happen? Right after he stabbed himself in the face. And now his isn't maybe so, well, I think it is very literal with the brain control, mind control, and the hat stuff, but every other character, like Kobe or Garp, or maybe even Dragon, all these characters that have facial markings, they're all kind of a reference to Odin with like learning wisdom, but I think that Oda's flipped it on its head, and that they're actually a clue in the story to having lost wisdom and lost agency. And as you'll know from some of my other chapter reviews, I actually think that Sabo could be body snatched right now, and particularly body snatched with Cobra's soul inside of him. Basically becoming like a snake in the grass. Or sand. And then we actually get to kind of start the flashback of what exactly happened at Maryjoa. And with all this stuff, I'm assuming that next week's chapter, after next week, I think there's going to be a break, and I think it's probably going to end with Cobra dying or about to die or something like that. But in this chapter, and it's really crazy to me because it just shows just how great Oda is and how good of a writer and designer and creative mind that he really has. We're 1,083 chapters in, and we see probably one of my coolest powers that we've ever seen so far, which is Karasu's suit fruit. And I've been thinking for years, does he have a raven power? Does he have something to do with, I don't even know, like just birds or something? But we find out that it's suit, and which is, ash, all that stuff, whatever. And he's able to utilize it in all sorts of cool ways by making birds, making spikes, all sorts of cool things. And it's probably, I think, one of the coolest powers we've seen so far. And I also think since he's kind of the first character that we see in this flashback starting to attack and all these things, I think it is actually a big clue with this bird kingdom, crow kingdom, raven kingdom, all of that stuff that I've been talking about for, almost a year now. And I know that we've actually kind of seen all of the members that went with Sabo to Maryjoa all safely in the story now, but I cannot recall seeing Karasu. So I am very worried about where exactly his whereabouts are right now and if he's alive and all that kind of stuff. And if I missed him somewhere, please leave below a comment, which chapter, because I I might have just totally missed it and forgot about it. You know, it's been a minute. And then the chapter kind of ends with Vivi giving the business to Lucci, and we get this very menacing shot of the bird, and I really am kind of, you know, starting to wonder and think real hardcore about if Hattori, Rob Lucci's pigeon, is actually Lafayette. I really like that idea. I kind of want that to be true. I think that would really fit for the powers that we've seen him use, but I'm not sure about that 100%. But the chapter kind of ends with Cobra saying he won't be long. He wants Chaka and Pell to go look after Vivi while he attends to this business with the Gorosei. And I'm kind of like 60-40, leaning towards the idea that we're not actually going to see what Cobra was talking to them about, and that Sabo will probably burst into the palace room or whatever right at the moment after he's kind of killed and fallen out of his chair. But like I said, I think that his soul has been body snatched or placed into Sabo anyway. So I think kind of whatever we're going to be getting after this part in the flashback is going to be layered with all sorts of secrets that we're going to be probably finding out the truth of later on. And I don't think we're going to be getting the full truth of it right now or next week or the next chapter. You know, I don't think we're going to be getting the whole story, the whole scoop, as Ivankov would say, at the current time. And now if you liked this video, and if you like this kind of style of kind of showing the coloring for my thumbnail or whatever, let me know in the comments. I'm also going to be opening commissions. I just did a commission for the new One Piece University podcast headed by Marshall D. Preach. And I am opening commissions, so feel free to message me on Instagram or Twitter or on Discord. My name is 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚘 on basically all of them. And if you like these kind of chapter takes, we're going to be doing streams of chapter reviews and reactions on the Last Arc YouTube channel with the rest of the crew. And we're going to be doing one this Saturday if you want to come check it out. We're also doing, every Friday, we're doing D&D streams of our One Piece Dungeons & Dragons type game. And we actually had a secret session this week, which will be uploaded after tomorrow's session, so you guys know kind of what happened with everything as a kind of a flashback, because if you're keeping up with the story, we were just kind of put in prison. Well, some of the crew was. The part of the crew I was in was put in prison, and we'll show you, what's going on with that in a video later on, Friday night. So with that, if you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment, and all that great stuff. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, I can't believe it. It's really been amazing the last 2 weeks or so, the feedback and everything, and it's just been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. My name is 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚑𝚝, and I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.